A disabled veteran stepped onto a crowded city bus. His limp pronounced, but his eyes alert. The way he scanned the vehicle wasn't ordinary observation. It was tactical assessment. No one knew the quiet man with a cane was once America's deadliest combat instructor. The Friday afternoon bus filled quickly with weekend-bound passengers. Sunlight streamed through windows, illuminating floating dust particles in the stuffy air. Standing near the front, Michael Thompson steadied himself with a worn wooden cane, his right leg noticeably stiff. His weathered face remained expressionless beneath a faded baseball cap, military short gray hair visible at the temples. His olive green jacket hung loosely over a plain gray t-shirt, a small, worn patch barely visible on the shoulder, recognizable only to those who knew what to look for. Beside him stood Sarah Thompson, her golden brown short hair catching the sunlight, blue cardigan buttoned against the air conditioning. At 65, she carried herself with quiet dignity, holding a canvas grocery bag close to her chest in the crowded space. Near the middle, 3 college-age men sprawled across priority seating, legs deliberately extended, backpacks occupying empty spaces. They passed the phone between them, laughing loudly at something on the screen. The youngest wore a university hoodie, his friends in designer sportswear. Despite the please priority seating sign directly above them, none offered to move. Sarah leaned forward slightly, her voice gentle but clear. "Excuse me, would you mind if my husband sat down? His leg is bothering him today." The young man in the university hoodie glanced up briefly, eyes flickering to Michael's cane, then back to his phone. "Bus is packed, lady. Should have come earlier if you wanted seats." His friend snickered, one deliberately stretching his legs wider. A middle-aged woman nearby adjusted her glasses, noticed the interaction, then looked away. No one spoke up. Michael placed a steadying hand on Sarah's shoulder. "It's fine," he said quietly. His voice carried an unfamiliar cadence, measured and precise, each word deliberate. The bus lurched around a corner, passengers swaying. Michael's cane slipped slightly against the floor, causing him to momentarily lose balance. His shoulder accidentally brushed against University Hoodie's arm. "Dude, back off!" The young man snapped, dramatically wiping his sleeve as it contaminated. "Personal space, man." Heads turned briefly, then quickly away. Sarah's face flushed, but Michael's expression remained unchanged. "Sorry about that," Michael said, the apology flat, automatic. "Seriously, guys," University Hoodie announced to his friends, voice intentionally loud. "Can't even ride in peace without having some gimpy vet invading your space." He pointedly eyed Michael's cane, then the small military patch on his jacket. Probably just bought that at an army surplus store anyway. His friends laughed on cue. An elderly woman across the aisle frowned disapprovingly, but remained silent. Michael simply adjusted his stance, eyes briefly meeting Sarah's in quiet communication. "What's in the bag, anyway?" University Hoodie leaned forward, pointing at Sarah's canvas tote. "Gotta be something good you're guarding it like that." Sarah instinctively pulled the bag closer. "Just groceries." "Just groceries," he mimicked in a high-pitched voice, earning more laughter for his friends. He reached out, flicking the strap of her bag. "Come on, show us." Michael shifted slightly, his stance widening almost imperceptibly. "Leave her alone," he said, voice still quiet but with a new edge beneath the words. "Or what, Limpy?" The second youth stood up, several inches taller than Michael. "You'll hit me with your stick?" University Hoodie suddenly grabbed the bottom of Sarah's tote, tilting it sharply. Apples tumbled out, rolling across the dirty floor. A jar of homemade jam shifted but didn't break. Sarah gasped, instinctively bending to retrieve her groceries. As she leaned down, University Hoodie deliberately pushed backward, his elbow catching her shoulder. Sarah stumbled, barely catching herself on a nearby pole. "Lesson for today," he announced proudly. "Don't crowd people's personal space." Michael's expression hadn't changed, but something fundamental shifted in his posture. The change was subtle but absolute, like a weapon being quietly armed. His grip on the cane adjusted, knuckles whitening slightly. "Picked them up," Michael said. His voice remained low, but carried a quality that made 2 nearby passengers look up sharply. the unmistakable tone of command that had once directed America's most elite soldiers through hostile territories. University Hoodie blinked, then turned fully toward Michael. "What did you just say to me, old man?" "The apples." "Picked them up and apologized to my wife." Michael hadn't moved, hadn't raised his voice, but the atmosphere in the bus changed instantly. Several passengers shifted uncomfortably, sensing the dangerous undercurrent. "Who the hell do you think you are?" University Hoodie laughed, glancing at his friend for support. The third young man rose now, forming a loose triangle around Michael and Sarah. "Her bodyguard?" Michael said nothing, simply maintaining eye contact. His stillness was unnatural. Not the nervous stillness of fear, but the controlled economy of movement that marked special operators. No wasted energy, no telegraph intentions. "Look at his leg, bro," the second youth pointed. "Probably couldn't guard a paper bag with that gimp." University Hoodie stepped closer, invading Michael's space. "What happened? Slip in the shower? Or are you one of those guys who lies about serving?" Michael remained motionless except for his eyes, which assessed each man's position with methodical precision. The calculation happened in milliseconds: distance, positioning, potential weapons, exit routes. Assessment patterns ingrained through thousands of combat scenarios. "Hey, I asked you a question." University Hoodie snapped his fingers near Michael's face. "What, you deaf too?" A fourth young man appeared from further down the bus, creating a box formation around the couple. "Problem here?" he asked, fist bumping University Hoodie. "Just teaching Grandpa some manners." University Hoodie replied, voice rising to ensure others could hear. "Thinks his little soldier patch makes him special." Sarah stepped closer to Michael, concern evident in her eyes. Michael's hand gently guided her slightly behind him, a subtle protective gesture that spoke volumes. "Last chance," Michael said quietly, the words carrying clearly despite the bus noise. "Walk away." The young men erupted in theatrical laughter. "His last chance, he says." University Hoodie mocked. "You hear that, guys? The cripple is threatening us." University Hoodie reached forward and deliberately knocked Michael's cap off. It fell to the floor beside the scattered apples. "What you gonna do about it? Stolen valor?" Michael didn't react to the provocation. Instead, he looked at Sarah. "Are you hurt?" he asked, his voice softening momentarily. She nodded slightly. "I'm okay." Something changed in Michael's eyes then, not anger, but focus. The kind of focus that had once allowed him to function while bullets flew past and men died around him. University Hoodie shoved Michael's shoulder hard. "Hey, I'm talking to you." Michael absorbed the push with minimal movement. Not because he had to, but because he chose to conserve energy. The pressure rolled through him like wind past stone. The fourth youth, growing bolder, circled behind. "Maybe Grandpa needs help hearing," he said, reaching for Michael's jacket. In that moment, something metallic flashed in University Hoodie's hand. A small folding knife, blade now exposed. Several passengers gasped, one woman fumbling for her phone to call for help. "Maybe this will help your hearing." University Hoodie sneered, waving the knife casually. "Sometimes vets just need a little reminder of their war days, right?" The knife slashed forward in a practiced arc, catching Michael across the temple before anyone could react. Blood immediately streamed down his weathered face, spattering his collar. Michael staggered slightly, shoulder hitting the handrail. "Michael!" Sarah cried out, reaching for him. "Stay back, lady," the second youth warned, blocking her path. University Hoodie stood over Michael, breathing heavily. "Not so tough now, huh?" Several passengers shouted in alarm. A teenage girl stood frozen, phone camera recording everything. The bus driver called frantically over the intercom for everyone to remain seated. Michael's hand pressed against the wound, blood seeping between his fingers. His eyes never left University Hoodie, despite the injury. While others saw an injured old man, anyone with combat experience would recognize something entirely different in his gaze. Tactical assessment continuing despite the wound. "You should have just minded your own business," University Hoodie said, knife still in hand. He turned to his friends. Stupid old man thought he was some kind of hero. That's when Michael's posture shifted. It wasn't dramatic, just a subtle adjustment of weight distribution. His injured leg, previously favoring the cane, now planted firmly. His breathing slowed deliberately, blood still flowing freely down his face. University Hoodie noticed a change, intense, uncertain. Stay down if you know what's good for you. But Michael was already rising, movements economical and precise like a man who had been knocked down in battle many times before and always gotten back up. His eyes held no fear, no anger, only calculated intention. "I tried to warn you," Michael said quietly, voice steady despite the blood now soaking his collar. His stance had transformed completely, the apparent disability seemingly evaporating in seconds. University Hoodie lunged forward with a knife in a wild, slashing motion. Michael's response was immediate but unhurried. He pivoted on his supposedly bad leg with surprising agility, the cane suddenly extending in a fluid arc. The hardwood connected with University Hoodie's wrist with surgical precision. The knife clattered to the floor as the young man howled in pain. The second youth charged like a linebacker. Michael sidestepped with minimal movement, using the attacker's momentum against him. A precise redirection with his forearm sent the charging youth face first into a pole. He crumpled to his knees, nose streaming blood. "Holy shit!" someone whispered from the back of the bus. The third attacker hesitated, seeing his friends dispatched so efficiently. His hesitation lasted only seconds before he swung a wild haymaker toward Michael's head. Michael ducked the punch with almost casual ease, then executed a simple wrist lock, the same technique he had taught to thousands of Special Forces candidates. The young man's arm hyperextended with an audible pop. He dropped to his knees, clutching his elbow. University Hoodie recovered his balance and scrambled for his knife. Michael's cane struck the floor beside the weapon, pinning it. He hadn't raised his voice once, hadn't broken a sweat despite blood still flowing from his temple. The fourth youth pulled something from his pocket, brass knuckles gleaming in the afternoon sunlight. He circled more cautiously, recognizing he wasn't dealing with an ordinary disabled veteran. Michael's stance adjusted again, weight perfectly centered. When the attack came, it seemed almost as if Michael had anticipated every move. He blocked the brass-knuckled fist with his forearm, stepped inside the youth's guard, and delivered a single, precise strike to the solar plexus, not with closed fist, but with an open palm heel, the exact technique taught in advanced close-quarters combat training. The young man collapsed, gasping for air that wouldn't come. In less than 30 seconds, all four attackers were incapacitated. Michael stood motionless, one hand against a handrail for support, breathing controlled despite his injury. The entire bus had fallen into stunned silence. "Did you see that?" A young woman whispered to her companion. He barely moved. An older man with a military haircut watched with knowing eyes. "He didn't use excessive force," he murmured. "Just enough. Textbook Special Forces technique." Michael retrieved his fallen cap with deliberate movements, placing it back on his head. He picked up Sarah's canvas bag, gathering the single unbruised apple that remained. The knife and brass knuckles he kicked under his seat, out of reach. The man with the military haircut stood up slowly, approaching with respectful caution. "Excuse me, sir," he said, voice low. "I served 2 tours in Afghanistan. Those moves, were you an instructor, Fort Bragg?" Michael assessed the man briefly before offering a slight nod. The former soldier's eyes widened in recognition. "Wait, Thompson? Master Sergeant Michael Thompson?" A ripple of murmurs spread through the bus. "You taught advanced CQC to Special Forces candidates," the man continued, all creeping into his voice. "You're the Green Beret who rewrote the hand-to-hand combat manual." University Hoodie, still clutching his injured wrist, looked up in disbelief. "What's he talking about?" he managed through gritted teeth. The former soldier turned to him, face hardening. "You just attacked the most legendary combat instructor in Special Forces history, the man who trained America's deadliest operators for over 2 decades. A woman nearby was searching on her phone. "Michael Thompson," she read aloud, "recipient of the Silver Star, 3 Purple Hearts, responsible for training over 5,000 Special Forces operators, considered the foremost expert in close-quarters combat techniques." The bus had gone completely silent as the realization spread. This wasn't just any veteran. This was a living legend in military circles. "Sir," the bus driver called out, "police and ambulance are waiting at the next stop." Michael nodded acknowledgement, his hand returning to the wound on his temple. The bleeding had slowed but not stopped. His other arm gently supported Sarah, who trembled slightly against him. "Are you okay?" she asked softly. "Fine," he replied, the corner of his mouth lifting slightly. "Not my first knife wound." The bus slowed to a stop, doors hissing open. Paramedics waited alongside police officers on the sidewalk. Michael and Sarah stepped forward, no one blocking their path. People moved aside respectfully, not from fear but from something deeper, recognition of quiet strength and dignity. The 4 young men were escorted off by police, university hoodies still protesting weakly despite handcuffs. "I didn't know who he was." "That's the point," the former soldier said quietly. "Real warriors don't advertise." On the sidewalk, a paramedic attempted to guide Michael to the ambulance. "Sir, we need to check that head wound." Michael shook his head slightly. "Just a bandage will do." His voice remained calm, as if being slashed with a knife was merely an inconvenience. The former soldier approached again, standing at a respectful distance. "Master Sergeant Thompson, it's an honor. You taught my CQC instructor at Bragg. He said your techniques saved his life in Kandahar." Michael nodded once, the gesture conveying volumes. Good training saves lives. That's all that matters. As paramedics applied a temporary bandage to Michael's temple, Sarah stood beside him, her hand gently touching his arm, the strength of their partnership evident in the simple gesture. "Still want to finish the grocery shopping?" Michael asked quietly. Sarah smiled faintly. "Only if you're feeling up to it." He nodded once. After the paramedics finished, they declined further treatment and walked away together. Michael's limp now more pronounced, but his posture unbowed. His hand rested lightly on Sarah's back as they disappeared around a corner. Just another couple on another day. But for those on the bus, it would never be just another ride. It would be the day they witnessed what real strength looks like. Not in boasting or intimidation, but in protection, discipline, and the quiet dignity of a warrior who never stopped serving. Sometimes true heroes walk among us unrecognized, their greatest strength not in what they display, but in what they restrain. That day, passengers witnessed not just combat skills, but the character behind them, discipline, control, and the protection of others above self. As news of the incident spread, it sparked conversations about how we treat veterans, particularly those with visible disabilities. Many questioned why no one intervened earlier, why it took violence to reveal the worth of someone they had dismissed. Have you ever misjudged someone based on appearances? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you know a veteran, remember that behind their quiet exterior may lie extraordinary stories of service and sacrifice worthy of our deepest respect.